But yeah. So like, where was I? I mean, like, so gosh, there's quite a bit of views of salvation, you know. So um, I'll just kind of briefly go back over that. There's the view, obviously, of universalism. Everybody is saved through what you know, eventually in time, in one way or another. God's grace covers everybody, even the ones that don't believe, etc., etc. Then you have the purgatory view. Um, um, as Catholics have predominantly believed, you know, so we this view states that salvation is still finite with persons, as in like not everybody is saved, but the people that are saved, some of them may not just go directly into what we call heaven or paradise. They will have to go through some kind of purgatory, some kind of like event where you have to be purged of particular sins. I don't know how you feel about it. How do you feel about purgatory? That'd probably be a good place to start. Not entirely. So, like the way that most Catholics would understand purgatory is it's a belief that states kind of like what I was kind of going there, but like in a shorter, condensed version, it would be like um, somebody that is saved is a believer in Jesus, but let's say they've committed a particular kind of sin. Catholics will go over the kinds of terminologies of these. Sometimes they call these like grave sins, sins that are like big no-nos. You know what I mean? And yeah, exactly. And like what might happen in these kinds of scenarios is um, someone might commit something of that sort. And there's different Catholic opinions on this, you know. So like one opinion is that like you can say you're a Christian all you want, but if you committed this particular sin, you're just not saved. That's what some Catholics might say. But other Catholics will say something to the sort of, well, you're still saved, but you're gonna have to go through this like purge. So like um, I think the word has to do with some kind of like purging. So fire, you know, you're this stuff is like released of you. You know, like it's getting rid of that baggage of that particular sin of some sort. Um, so you have to go through this like purging event to get rid of that sin um, of some sort. So like gosh, there's so much debate on that purgatory view because like Protestants normally argue, well, gosh, we don't need purgatory because Jesus died for all of our sins as we are believers. But then obviously Catholics will go into that. But that's why I was interested in your point of view of that of purgatory because you know even within particular denominations there's different understandings of just that one particular understanding. So like it can get quite vast. Hmm. Right. Uh huh. Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Right. 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 Yeah. Right. Right. Oh yeah. I know. Yeah. For sure. Uh huh. Uh huh. Uh huh. Right, right. Yeah, 100%. Mm-hmm. For sure, absolutely. Mm, for sure. That's awesome. Yeah, so like, that kind of gets into another kind of understanding of it too, right? So like, this other view would say something to the sorts of like, um, so like a Protestant would say, we are saved alone by faith, like grace through faith, and that's it. But then some Catholics will, I should say, pretty much all Catholics will say, well, yeah, we're saved by grace through faith, but it's works that also are a huge contribution to our salvation. Um, so like some Catholics will say it into the sorts of like they'll quote literally for like verbatim from James chapter 2, where James says, if you have faith without works, then your faith is dead. Because your faith doesn't. Right, right. That's James chapter 2. Faith without works is dead. He says, James chapter 2, verse 14. So, like, if you can say, like, it's almost like given as an example. I'm pretty sure the example James gives is, you know, uh, you, let's say you're somewhat wealthy, and I'm kind of adding to this, but the way you could put it in our modern understanding would be something like, you have some money and you got nice clothes and what have you, and you're walking across the street and you see a homeless man, and you tell the homeless man, may God be with you and bless you. And you don't give him any money or clothes or food and what have you. And James's point is that like you had money, you had clothes, and you had something to help with, and you just walk, yeah, you just walked away, and next thing you know, you you went you went down a couple more blocks and you bought a new pair of Nikes of some sort. So like yeah, you could put it in that if you were to look at it in our modern day understanding. Um, but yeah, a lot of people will say it's both. You have to have grace through faith, but you also have to have a faith that produces um, some kind of works. And this kind of illustrates Jesus, where Jesus says, um, "You will know my people by their fruit." You know, yeah, yeah. So, and this is always analogous to like a scenario where um, you have a tree and the tree is not bearing any good fruits. The fruits on it are really nasty and ugly and all of that. So that's kind of how the understanding of salvation is in that kind of point of view. So it's quite interesting. But there, like I said, there's so many views of salvation and so many debates among salvation between Protestants and Catholics and what have you. But it's all good stuff. It's all important conversations, I think, for both sides to continue this through. So